Okay, thanks for joining us today. I've got some things I want to share with you guys, and I hope that you know you take it in and you add your thoughts. And the idea of you guys being here is obviously to help, and anyone watching is just to help them to be able to know their rights. Because I don't think anyone's coming to our rescue to help us. I don't think there's any government body that's going to do it for us. So we've got different groups out there that are more grassroots. I mean, we're a group, you know, you guys are part of another group, you know, and you guys are doing your thing, but we need to empower people. Yes. Oh yeah, boys. Yeah, we're on now. You have to stop now. I like to share, you know. Yeah, so we've just got at the grassroots level, get the grassroots people to know that what their rights are, know what the law is, know how to keep people accountable, make them accountable, because they're not getting, if we don't pursue any actions after the fact when the police have committed these offences, then they're just going to get away with it. So we've got to make them liable. All right, so let's start. Okay, with the Crimes Act. Okay, so we've got section 4.5. Actually, we might go through the Human Rights Charter. All right, so if you look on this template, those that don't have a template, you can get one on www.To8.net. All right, so you have the right to defend yourself against an offender. So how would this apply if it was a police officer doing the offending? Well, the answer is in exactly the same way. If you have been detained or arrested by the police, always ask them why you are being detained or arrested. And if the police refuse to inform you as to why you are being detained, then you are free to go. But this may require some force from the detainee, as it did in the case of Adzi when he forced his way through. Can you just explain that to everybody that's here? And nice loud voice so we can hear online. They can't see you, so it's okay. You're all right, mate. Just what you asked the police officers when they detained you and what you did, how you responded.
So basically just said, you know, what was on the leave protest. And they just kept saying, stand back with the ball, with the camera, take the photos, down small, mate, and smart artists. And I said, well, if you don't do something violent, you don't want violence, that's not what you want. Let us go. And they just kept saying, push back, and then, yeah, and we sat there for all bunched up for an hour and a half, something like that, and then just gathered a few guys together and went up and started pushing it.
Good on you. And you had a good crack at it, didn't you?
Yeah. We did that. It wasn't a scrap, but it was power pushing out.
Yeah.
And once we had the momentum,
yeah. So 4 of you, and there was how many of them? There were a lot of police officers, weren't there? Yeah. They're not confident in what they're doing. They're just doing what they're told. Once you created an extraneous variable, they don't know how to deal with it because they're not used to thinking for themselves. Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. Good. Another celebrity. Marty Fokker he's the real celebrity there with Joe Bader. All right.
So they didn't have a chance because they just kept trying to. All the police kept trying to come around and get behind. So they kept trying to hold on. Yeah, and then once we broke through, we had the first row of the all black police facing the other way. That was further down the street, and then another row of police line that was facing the opposite way. So I thought when L1 broke the farthest in front, you could see that side of that sewer.
Yeah, because they got scared. Yeah, they got the hands. Yeah. One was a red pepper sign, was a cat.
Well, let's have a look. Let's look at Marty Focker's video, okay? Let's have a bit of a look here. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to share it again so I can get some sound. Now, we don't really need sound. We can just play it and explain it as we go.
So we're not free to leave. What are you guys going to do? Keep us here till when?
Okay.
What are you guys doing here? So we're not free to leave. What are you guys going to do? Keep us here till when?
Don't you want to be on the fun side? How much
What have we done wrong? Like, what on earth are you guys doing to us? What are you doing to us?
Are you wanting to leave?
I want to leave freely.
We don't really need
I want to leave freely. No. Why not? Send me a fine in the fucking mail. I don't care.
Basically, Marty's filming and he's asking the officers, why are we being detained or arrested? Are we free to leave? And they're not answering his questions. They're not. And were you in there as well? Were you in that circle? Okay, so you were there. Anyone else in that circle? Okay, yeah, okay, yeah. I did see Jody in there. Okay, so you guys are there. You're not told why they kept you there for how long? Hours. Okay, so let's say 3 hours they kept you there, except for they didn't keep you guys because you forced your way out. Okay, but you can see like Marty goes around, he's asking them, you know.
So we are not free to leave,
why they're doing it.
and you guys are not going to give us a charge.
How many times, Marty,
Why don't you let us go?
asked them for a charge? How many times do you reckon you asked them? What charge? What's the charge? How many? 20, 30 times. Well, I think you do about 30 times just in this 20-minute video, mate. So, all right. So they wouldn't let you go. Now let's have a look at human rights charter. Okay, section 21. And I mean, this is not complicated. So it's just really simple stuff. But it's just you want to see it, and then you look at it in in their own acts how they've breached it. Okay, so every person has the right to liberty and security. A person must not be subjected to arbitrary arrest or detention. And that was arbitrary because they didn't arrest everybody. They just arrested certain people. A person must not be deprived of his or her liberty except on grounds and in accordance with procedures established by law. Now, this is actually considered to be law. This is an act of Parliament. So the next, so this would have been deprivation of liberty because the next section says a person who is arrested or detained must be informed at the time of the arrest or detention for the reason for the arrest or detention and must be promptly informed about any proceedings to be brought against him or her. Were you informed at all?
When he arrested me, I asked him why he arrested me. He said, I got my mask on. I had a mask in my hand. And when my phone came in the paper that some 25 out of my 25-page jurisdiction and something about there was another thing that I didn't fully understand. It's really great.
Yeah, they don't need to arrest you for that. It's not an arrestable offence. So what they generally do is not wearing a mask isn't an arrestable offence. Outside of your 25 kilometres is not an arrestable offence. So what they do is they ask you for your name. They request your name, and if you don't give them the name, then they arrest you for not giving a name. That's usually what they arrest you for. Did they ask you for your name?
Yeah.
Did you refuse to give it? Yeah. So that's how they would legitimise that arrest. Okay. Yeah. All right. So then, and then they kept you after that.
Yeah.
Well, there's no reason for that. There's no reason for you to. It's like the money they have in Zimbabwe. You know, it's like $1 million for a loaf of bread. Like it's not really worth anything. Yeah. 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 Yeah, no, it is because did they tell you why you're being arrested or detained? No, exactly. So let's look at this section, subsection 4 of section 21 of the Human Rights Charter. A person who is arrested or detained must be informed at the time of the arrest or detainment for the reason for the arrest of detention. So you haven't been told. Yeah, they're the ones that just they don't like what's happening, but they don't want to lose their job and not be able to pay their bill and be like the rest of us who don't have jobs.
Yeah, policy,
Yeah.
right? You had a choice to take the work that day.
Oh no, I'm with you. Like I'm with you. Like I wouldn't do it, but that's where they're at. They still have some good qualities in them, even though they're doing terrible things. You know. Yeah. Yeah. Very eloquently said. You're right. You're right. We are. We're in a mess if we don't. No, I appreciate it because it's an adjective that's relevant to the context. So, yes.
So I just fell on the road and like no talking or anything. Just four coppers picked me up, pushed me into the road with my face in the neck and cuffed me. Is that an arrest? Like what is that?
There's so many things wrong with that. They have to tell you why you're being arrested. No, you know, and you fell down. So they're obviously operating as medical officers and making a diagnosis, and that you're not sick, so they're going to cuff you. You know, this is what. Well, they're it's like when I say I've got a medical condition, I can't wear a mask, right? My medical condition is or exemption, because you got to understand the exemption isn't a document. Okay, I've got some document from the doctor. You know, that's not what an exemption is. An exemption is just a lawful reason. I've had the police say to me things like, "Well, I don't believe that you," because I won't show them any documentation. They say, "Well, I don't believe you." It's like, "Oh, so you're a medical? So you're operating as a medical or health officer, and you're making a diagnosis that I'm not sick." You know, that's what they're doing. If they see you fall down, okay. Oh, you were thrown. Okay.
I don't know how it happened. It was a big surge. Everybody fell on the ground.
Okay.
And then they picked me up.
Oh, was that from you? You guys?
Well, you guys started it.
Yeah.
I ended up on top of the hopper, and they picked me up, and then they threw me on the ground.
Okay.
And then they cuffed me. So is that an arrest?
No, because there's no such thing. It wouldn't even be an unlawful arrest because there's no such thing anyway as an unlawful arrest. It's an arrest, or that's assault, deprivation of liberty. That's no, but there's no reason for it. So guys, this is the point that I want to bring up. Without being told why you're being detained and arrested with a legitimate reason, there is no arrest or detainment. Okay. Yeah, which is a word they don't like anymore. Unlawful. I mean, let's have a look at what else can I look to work out this. I do struggle with this. I'm getting there. All right. So if I go to, this is the Community Law Research Association. This is where I first started learning law, like years ago with Kelvin and Darren. That's where I met Darren about seven or 8 years ago. And I think he's probably the one that's probably outlined a lot of this stuff. But if you look at what's required to establish reasonable grounds, this is a High Court case from 1990. It's called George versus Rocket, and I think it might be on here. Yeah, I've got it on here on the back. So if you look on the back, it's the second outlined area. in the yellow. When a statute prescribes that there must be reasonable grounds for a state of mind, including suspicion and belief, it requires the existence of facts which are sufficient to induce that state of mind in a reasonable person. So when they so they have to establish reasonable grounds for the arrest. They have to establish reasonable grounds for detainment. And they might say, well, we believe you're committing an offence, but it has to be based with some factual evidence. It can't just be, well, we believe. Okay, well, why? What's the basis of the belief? Now, if they don't tell you the basis of the belief, it's unlawful detention. It's as per the Human Rights Charter, when you're arrested or detained, you must be informed at the time of the arrest and the detention for the reason for the arrest and the detention. Now, a lot of these officers probably think that, oh, the Human Rights Charter is not valid, state of emergency, state of, but it is. If they can look, they can infringe on parts of this if there's a reason, a legitimate reason. But detaining 50 to 80 people and not telling them why isn't a legitimate reason. There's no reason for that. They could have still told you why you were being detained, what offence you'd committed, but they didn't know. Because if they had have known what offence you'd committed, Marty, they would have told you. And you asked every single officer there, everyone that's in that video. That's beautiful, isn't it? So yeah, if they don't even know, like you said, how are you supposed to know, right? Yeah. Because if we don't do that, and if we don't, and there's even at the grassroots level, like I was with my son, I got arrested for not giving my name. Yeah, Cranbourne Station by the PSOs. Yeah, but I probably would have used force if my 8-year-old son with me. I won't with my 8-year-old son because I don't want him to be, end up with PTSD or something. But I would, because I'd say, well, no, unless you've got some evidence that I'm committing an offence, which what are they going to say? Oh, well, you're not wearing a mask. That's evidence. I go, no, that's not evidence. There's probably, are you saying there's no legitimate reasons for someone to not wear a mask? What are they going to say? Well, no. Do you have an exemption? Yeah, I do. Well, can I see it? What do you mean see it? An exemption, the word doesn't even mean what you think it means. It doesn't mean a piece of paper that has something written or signed by a doctor. It means a lawful excuse. Well, and then they can request it, but I'm not obliged to tell you because there is also privacy rights. Anyone's ever heard of the Privacy Act? I've got my right to privacy, and I'm not going to just let you, take. It's something personal to me. It's of a private nature. I don't want you to know. I don't want you to know my details. I don't trust you. Are you saying I have to trust you? That's the sort of the argument to have. But they didn't listen to me on that occasion. They arrested me, handcuffed me, and it was a bit embarrassing for my son. But I'm taking it further, and really, I'm just going to send a letter to the chief, the police commissioner. I'm going to state all the problems and all the issues with the way they handled that situation, and not regarding my son's feelings. And I want accountability. And see what they offer, and that'll be like my jab for them to counter back, so I know what they're going to throw back at me. Yeah, and then once you've and see, I get like I haven't spent a lot of time in court. I've gone in with Darren a lot for other people and watched what he does, and but I know that if you've made a legitimate effort to send letters to people asking them why questions and they don't answer over and over and over again, that's evidence that they've done the wrong thing. You could say to the judge or the magistrate, look, I've tried to have this resolved multiple times. They won't respond to any of my correspondence. They might reply and send you a generic letter that doesn't actually explain anything. But if it doesn't answer your legitimate questions, then you've done everything you're required to do. So when you go to the court, it's going to look bad for them. They're going to say, well, why didn't you answer these questions? Why didn't you respond? Then I'm sending letters to the commissioner of police commissioner. Yeah. That's the deputy commissioner. No, not to the local guys, just to the commissioner, to the higher ups, because the commissioner's an office. It's not a man, really. It's not a man. Like it's actually a you know, it's an office. It's a corporation. So we're sending it to that corporation, and hopefully we get some resolution. Yeah. Does that make sense? Do you want to add anything, Paulie? You looked like you had something to say. So
What you said already, about 42 questions, I'm going to refer.
oh, okay. Yeah. Well, there's probably lots of things wrong with what I'm saying, but most of it's right. And I'm one of these guys that if I don't know something and someone corrects me, I'm cool with that. And that makes it easier. Then your ego doesn't get in the way because you say from the beginning, oh, I don't know everything. And I don't think people should have to know everything before they start to do something. Otherwise, no one would do anything because no one knows everything. Or they'll send you a letter back with a response, and then you go, okay, so now you know what angle they're going to try and take. Yeah. No, just a general letter, politely, and then you can go whichever way, depending on how they respond to you. Yep. Put the details. No, I'm just each, yeah, individually. Yep. Oh, I think cash is important. Get cash because that's the only thing that seems to hurt them. Yeah. Or yeah. I mean, you could probably you can write it any way that you want. I just write it really politely, and I'd be as honourable as I can. And then if they're not, then I'll be a prick about it. And I'll call them out and ask them questions because it's easier to fish for evidence against the police or against the tax department or whatever. You just ask them the questions that they can't answer that are legitimate. And then when they don't respond, well, they won't answer. So I think they're committing a fraud or a tort. Yeah.
Okay, so I just want to raise something that's relevant to what you're talking about, which is correspondence letters to agents of authority. Okay, so I've been in court 30-something times, and I've seen documents that I've put in court go from me handing it to the clerk of courts to the magistrate or the judge, and then turn around with it on the desk where I can't see it because they're above me saying, yes, there's nothing here of legal merit, let's move on. How did they do that? Well, at that time I was unaware and I handed up the document. I didn't have my red thumbprint on the back. And so they were able to turn it over and say, yes, this document has no legal merit. So, and it's just a simple point, but already I'd say you're wasting your time sending a letter. Send them a notice.
That's my next step. Notice and demand for particulars. That's what I do next.
It's like they're making you opposite contract. How do you negotiate that offer in your favour? And you do it by sending them something they can't answer.
Well, I used to do it in that way, in that order, until Darren actually instructed me and said, be nice about it, and at first, and just send them that. And give that, because you're kind of giving them the opportunity to do the right thing before the demand. But I mean, I don't know which way is the best way because they're all different. I know that the tax department you get no resolutions with. They've been the hardest nut to crack. It's all right if you work for yourself, you can get out of any contract with them, but it's very hard if you're employed because they will claim they'll claim that you come under the employer's obligation to pay tax. So with tax, it's a little bit different than it would be, I think, with other, tolls hasn't been hard. It's been pretty easy. They don't do anything except send you more letters, and that's been pretty simple. There's been no litigation, but there has been for people that have, tried to get out of paying tax. So I don't know how it will go with the police. I haven't had experiences, but I'll have a go and I'll let you know. And if I have a good win, and we'll. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, You can make an internal. They say online now, because I went to the police station without a mask on in the city, so outside of my, to complain about the copper that had knocked on my. There's 2 police officers knocked on my door at midnight to serve me with paperwork. Yeah, I got four young kids, so yeah, that's what they did. And that was the 4th time they'd come over after 10 o'clock. So they'd been.
Isn't that legal?
Well, I asked them in there, and they said, "Oh, there's no provisions in there." I've spoken to my. It is, yeah, it is. So so I and I recorded. Obviously, I recorded the phone call, and the discussion. All right, guys. So let's
Sergeant at the same police station as a sergeant I was making complaint about. And I said I had video, and he said, "Oh, I'd like to see that video." And I said, "Oh, I can get it down tomorrow if you like." And he said, "Oh, maybe Monday. I'll send my details through by email so we can be in contact."
No, you never got anything. I know. Are you guys really warm in here? Because we can open up. Can you open up that just a little bit and open the back door up? Because then we'll get a bit of a breeze through.
A bit of water, bro.
Yeah, there's water there. Yeah, that'll do. Yeah, that'll do. Bit of a breeze.
I heard some things told me the other week, all these fines, they hand them out. And it goes to court, wouldn't the judge laugh at the cops and say it's not wasting my time?
I think you're right there, Brian. I think you are 100%. So you get it, mate. You get it. I heard something had gone to court. Oh, beautiful. Can you open the back one? Oh, it's all set up. Okay. All right. So let's continue on. Okay, so. All right, so we just went through the Human Rights Charter. Every person has a right to liberty and security. Person must not be subjected to arbitrary arrest or detention. You meant to put something there, mate, to keep the door open. The wind's just blowing the door. He's a top kid. I still call him a kid. He's a grown up, but I knew you when you were 1, mate. All right, and then obviously 4. Subsection 4, a person who is arrested or detained must be informed at the time of the arrest or detention for the reason for the arrest or detention. It must be promptly informed about any proceedings to be brought forth against him or her. So that's obviously not happening anymore. They're not doing that, okay? So that's deprivation of liberty. Now, here is what is acceptable in Victoria regarding your right to self-defence. This would be similar, if not the same, in other common law countries, states and territories. So let's have a look at self-defence. Okay, look for the definitions. I should have it up. Maybe I can. Let me just see what I'll do. Go back. Right. Just for the video. Okay. Let's just do that. Oh, it's 322K. All right, so this is your self-defense. Okay, a person is not guilty of an offence if the person carries out the conduct constituting the offence in self-defense. So you can punch someone, kick someone, wrestle someone, whatever you've got to do, possibly even use a baton if you need to, if it's required to defend yourself. Okay, person carries out conduct in self-defense if the person believes, remember what belief is defined as? Okay, it has to have facts. So your belief has to be based in fact for it to be lawful belief, as per the High Court case that we were just looking at. Okay, it requires the existence of facts which are sufficient to induce that state of mind in a reasonable person. So you have to be able to induce that state of mind that you are in such a position that you needed to use self-defense and exercise that conduct. So you just have to, that's how you establish the reasonable grounds for your belief. The police officers, 7 of them went out. I was just standing there and they all grabbed a hold of me forcefully. So I started throwing punches. Okay. Or I saw this lady over there be grabbed by these police officers. So I got all my mates and we all saw it. And we went over there and we tried to stop it. We freed the lady, you know, whatever it is. Because if you look in the notes, it says circumstances which a person may carry out conduct in self-defense include the defense of the person or another person. So you can assist somebody. So if I saw a whole bunch of police just grabbing you and you were just sitting there and roughing you up, we can go and help you. Now I did that once before and I got assaulted and arrested by the police, but we found out that woman was actually, it was all set up. And yeah. That's it. that was, so I got right into it and I got burned. All right. And actually, it was your boys that said, you know, don't do any heroic actions like that. But if it's someone I know a lot of people now, I'd go in. Yeah, I know. So, and then obviously, 2B, the conduct is a reasonable response to the circumstances that the person perceives them. Okay, and the reasons for self-defense. They're legitimate, the defense of the person or another person, so you can assist somebody else, the prevention or termination of the unlawful deprivation of the liberty of the person or another person. So in this situation, okay, with all these police officers surrounding Marty's, we'll call it Marty's group, we'll make you the king of the group because they're a different group, they'd left, okay? In this situation, they held you there for 3.5 hours, didn't tell you why you'd been arrested. In this situation, you would be able to defend yourself and force your way through legitimately, and you would also be able to go and assist others. So if there was a big group of us on the outside, we could go and free the people because the police are committing an offence. And we just have to have a bit of faith and a bit of confidence to know that what they're doing is wrong, but it's also, we can prove it in their own laws, their own acts. All right, so let's continue on. So you have the right to self-defense as long as your force is proportionate, which means that you can only use the necessary force that you believe is required to defend yourself or to defend somebody else. So let's have a look at use of force. 462A, okay? Use of force to prevent the commission of an indictable offence. A person may use such force not disproportionate to the objective as he believes on reasonable grounds. So there's those words, believes, reasonable grounds. Let's go back to that High Court case. Reasonable grounds, okay? Suspicion and belief, okay? So you've got to establish reasonable grounds. That's the key. All right, so the person may use such force not disproportionate from the objective as he believes on reasonable grounds. So obviously the belief has to have facts to verify it. You know, I used force because seven officers, or 7 men dressed up as police officers grabbed a hold of me and started using violence against me, and I was just standing there. And it's on. We have video footage to prove it and many witnesses. Okay, that's all you need for that's more than you need for your belief. To establish it as lawful belief. So reasonable grounds to be necessary to prevent the commission, continuance, or completion of an indictable offence, or to effect or assist in effecting the lawful arrest of a person committing or suspected of committing any offence. So you can use force, right? So, you know, and I don't recommend everybody uses force, you know. I don't recommend the ladies use force against coppers with bat and catching spray. But the Proud Boys, you know, no problem, because they're mentally ready for it. People that you know, like myself and a lot of our fighters and other fight people that I know from the fight gyms, they're happy and they've expressed interest in defending themselves, because that's basically what you know, martial arts and fighting, you know, as a sport is all about. It's about that self-defense. And you know, as it's become so bad and people are being assaulted so violently, and we'll actually, let's have a look. Let's have a look at this one. This is I think this is the one I want to have a look at.
They're doing something about.
Oh no, this is a different one. That's another one of Marty's. Here we go. So this is Syme. Syme gave me this one. If we're really quiet, you might be able to hear it. But have a look at the conduct of the police. Now remembering that the police, if they're to arrest you and you're not being violent, they place their hand on you and tell you. If you're not being violent, there's no reason for them to use force, because that would be disproportionate force as per the section that we just read in the Crimes Act about force has to be proportionate, it can't be disproportionate.
Two groups. You got the goons in the blue, and the goons in the red.
I go for the British Bulldog tactic.
When they're targeting someone, they eye him out. Here they come. Here they come.
What do you want us to do?
Oh my god! They just grab anyone they see first.
Yeah.
Just fucking
Is
stand
that
there.
big violent at all?
What are they doing to him?
Nothing. If there's more,
They grab someone else.
this only goes for 4.5 minutes. You're going to see two other people.
Here they come again. Another group.
Someone else. Well, this guy. Notice how angry the crowd becomes. So the crowd becoming angry, that's incitement, because they're inciting the crowd to become violent.
Come on! We're gonna lose Did you just steal a bag? Did you just snatch a bag?
They're going to do it again.
What the hell is going on?
So this one, what did he do? Look at how peaceful this bloke was.
Just snatch a bag?
They're going to do it again.
What the hell is going on?
Getting there, isn't it? What is that for? In that day, yeah, I did, yeah. And yeah, this bloke here, he gets arrested too, and his racial group gets
They come again.
Before that was when they were coming into the ticket place, they were going
Yeah. So let's look at this. So guys, have a look at the use of force again. A person, okay. Now they're still they're persons too, because so the thing with the person thing is in the public realm. If you're in the public realm, they would say you're a person because persons are in the public, right? A person may use such force not disproportionate. That was disproportionate. Can't be disproportionate. So we can see it for what it is. Okay. Now remember, we've got the right to self-defense. We can defend others, another person. Okay. if they're deprivation of liberty, property, or they're just their defence. Okay, they were assaulted, they were deprived of their liberty. They weren't told why they were while they were being grabbed. They were snatched. So they're provoking people to violence. Let's finish off here, and then we'll go through some more of these videos. Okay. Yeah. And they didn't. Yeah, they don't. Okay, we've gone through most of that. So basically, yes, yeah.
Quick question, if I can, is there any way of identifying those three that we just saw, or any other people that we just saw? So he was one of those guys that was really up. You see, the reason I asked, I'll bring this up later, I believe, I've been working for a while on this, there are people helping me, including Darren. There's a way of bringing police to the position that we have to do what they do.
Yeah.
Okay, now, it's a court process, but it's not a court as in, it's a court that exists with the envelopes that get sent back and forth. That's court.
Well, yeah, the word court just means to get to. It means heart. It means to get the heart of the matter.
So, but what's imperative is that, and I'd love you to bring this up later if you find section 4.6.
Yep, we're going to go there.
And it simply says that police commit criminal offence if they do not provide their details.
They always do. They always fail that.
Their official employment name, their ID, their police number, and the place of employment for them to serve legal notices. But more than that, the Act says, how will they do it in life? Is it unhindered on that day? I asked them for their ID. They call their ID, they don't need to hear from the anyway. Yes, that's fine, but they need to be I'll take a picture. Yeah, fine. They need to be because trying to get these cops, you can only get them when there's operating health providers, which is outside the scope of the employment. I'm talking to this bloke here yesterday, and we were discussing the case and getting some information from a member of the bar, attorney, who said police signed the computer, police signed at the point they're coming out of the academy. They sign an undertaking that they will accept liability for their actions. Whoa, what's that mean? That means that the state is not going to pay it.
So on that, this is a video that we did a while ago, and you'll see exactly what you're talking about, about giving the police not giving their names. So at the moment, they're going to assume she's committed an offence without.
That's fine. That's why I don't go to these, because there isn't a setup within our group to have someone like 10 Martins walking around, letting someone get arrested, and then taking photographs of all the cops that are involved, right? Because
We have the. I think we have the reach to be able to find out who all those people are.
yes.
And then we all come together, and then we do it together. And we just need people, people like your Darrens, Rob Halford's very good. He's very good with this sort of stuff as well. And he's already, we've done some Zooms with him as well. But yep.
Speak up on 3 quarters there. Yes.
The cops who were surrounding me, I asked the copper who was speaking to me that I wanted his name and number and everything in writing, and he told us basically to go. And I said, I'm duress, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I was handcuffed, there was 8 cops, there was
This goes with me everywhere, every cop, and I interact with cops usually only once a week. Their cards come from their pockets.
They leave me alone in Cranbourne now. They've left me alone. We've got the better of them enough that they just don't want to be, I think they don't want to be embarrassed at all. So they're like, oh, yeah.
Yep.
I asked the detective who's then trying to process me for the coppers' names. Yeah, so she gave me their names.
Yes.
And I've got their names. The names on the fine that I ended up.
Yep.
So can I go for the 3?
Yeah, all 3 of them. Even, you know, because they're guilty by association anyway, if they weren't the ones that grabbed a hold of you and it was just one of them. Yeah. They don't know what they're doing. They don't read the law.
I was writing my bloody G.
And this is the
They had
interesting.
decided that I was not actually right.
Okay. So let's look at that. Okay, guys, just listen up. All right. So, do you reckon that's enough to establish reasonable grounds? Okay, when a statute prescribes there must be reasonable grounds for a state of mind, okay, because your state is a mind, okay, including suspicion or belief. So they believed or they suspected because you were wearing jeans and not. It requires the existence of facts which are sufficient to induce that state of mind in a reasonable person. So that's your definition for because all their stuff's based on establishing reasonable grounds and belief. That's why you don't need to learn all this stuff. You just learn what you need. That's what reasonable grounds is. It's established as in the High Court ruling that it needs to have facts that are sufficient. And if they're not sufficient, then there's no facts, which means that their belief isn't valid at law. Before we do that, let's just have a quick look. All right.
Your reason as to why you're here today.
On what grounds? On what grounds?
As I explained to you, under the chief.
Have I committed an offence?
Well, I'm not. At the moment, I'm going to say yes because.
So she says, he said, well, on what grounds am I being arrested? On what grounds? She says, have I committed an offence? And she goes, well, and she stutters a bit and she goes, well, at this moment, I'm going to say yes. That's what she said, the police officer.
Can't verify your reason for being here.
Because you're not providing your evidence for the reasoning for you. I'm going to just listen to, I'll get her exact words.
Directions. And if I can't verify who you are, we then have an arrest power to arrest you until I can verify your identity.
You're saying if I can't verify who you are, we then have an arrest power to arrest you. So that's the threat.
I beg your pardon? I thought you said that I'm not obliged to answer.
I need to confirm your reason as to why you're here today.
On what?
I need to confirm your reason as to why you're out here today. And then she says, on what grounds?
On what grounds?
As I explained to you, under the chief.
Have I committed an offence?
Well, I'm not. At the moment, I'm going to say yes because.
Oh, at the moment, I'm going to say yes.
I can't verify your reason for being here.
So it's because I can't verify your reason for being here, I'm going to say you're committing an offence. Does that sound like reasonable grounds? Okay, because let's have a look. Let's have a look at another case that's worth noting. Yeah, I know who she is. She won't want her name on here though. So this is a Supreme Court case called DPP versus Hamilton. All the police learn this in the academy. Let's have a look, okay? I'm just going to read you some bits out of this case. Now, this is remember the state jurisdiction is the jurisdiction of the police. This is the Supreme Court of Victoria, so it's the Victorian state jurisdiction. It seems to me quite clear though that though every citizen has a moral duty, or if you like, a social duty to assist the police, there is no legal duty on that to that effect. So you don't have a legal duty to speak to the police, to assist them in their you know, in their inquiries. And indeed, the whole basis of the common law is the right of the individual to refuse to answer questions put to him by persons in authority, and to refuse to accompany those in authority to any particular place short of course of arrest. So you don't have to, oh, here we go. Let's look at this bit here, okay? The principle is that at common law, the police do not have the power to detain a suspect in order to question the suspect with a view of determining whether or not the suspect should be arrested. So that's, and the reasoning for this is that in Western society, especially common law countries, there's two powers. You've got your power, that's the state's power to prosecute, and you've got the individual's right. And that trumps, it's meant to trump anyway, it doesn't really. It's meant to trump the power of the state to prosecute. So the police, they're asking you questions like they were that lady. They were saying, you know, what's your name? And she said, I don't want to tell you. She's under no obligation to speak to the police, right? That's established in this Supreme Court case from 2011. So it's only like 9 years ago. It's a recent case. And they're saying, well, no, you have to tell us, otherwise we're going to arrest you because you haven't provided evidence that you're not guilty. So you're guilty unless you can prove that you're not, right? That's not how our system works. So the police don't know what they're doing, and we're under no obligation to assist the police in their investigation. That's not my job. I don't have to help you with anything. Yeah, there might be a moral duty, like it says here. Like, let's read that again. It seems to me quite clear that though every citizen has a moral duty, or if you like, a social duty to assist the police, there is no legal duty to that effect. So you don't have to help them. And with the conduct of the police, why would you help them? They're only fishing. They held my mate at the beach on the I forget where is it? Up near Rosebud anyway. The police had him on the beach, he reckons, for an hour, questioning him and wouldn't let him leave to verify where he was from. And finally, they got him on something because he's got a Queensland driver's license. And they asked him how long he'd been here for. And he said about 3 or 4 months. And they said, well, you don't have a license. And then they threatened to impound his car because, well, you haven't, you know. And he said to him, well, I can't leave the state because of your stupid rules, right? And he said to me, and he hates the police now. And he wasn't like that before this. And he said, Nick, if he's a mate of mine, he's a fish man, right? So he's the guy I buy fish from. He said, if that was some weaker person, a lady that maybe was, you know, an older lady, they would have taken her car. They would have just taken it. He said, but I wouldn't let him. I was ready. He goes, Nick, I was ready to fight him, you know. And I'm like, and he got real angry, and I was like, okay, all right. He goes, and that's what they're doing to people. So they're basically detaining you, not letting you leave, so they can question you to find out whether or not they can arrest you. And that's what this case says they can't do, and they learn this case. So what's happened? Why are they breaking the law? Why are they changing the law? Now, maybe the law's changed. Maybe these are no longer valid cases. But if that's the case, we have to be given full disclosure, and we haven't been. So whichever way you look at it, you know, they're wrong. They're in the wrong, and we need to make them accountable. And that's why we need the community to come together and do that. Look, I got no issue with the people throwing punches at the police when they commit actions like we just saw with these guys. You know, grabbing people violently. Nothing. Yeah, for nothing.
Did you just steal a bag? Did you just snatch a bag?
They're going to do it again.
What the hell is going on?
Absolutely we can. Yeah, you can, but you have to do it right. You don't want to just go because these people are so ignorant, these officers. They might do something like capsicum spray everyone, and I'm going to show you another one. Yeah, that's what they would do. Now let's have a look. Let's have a look at this one. So I know these boys too, and these are fighters. These guys, you know, and they got sprayed. But have a look. I might just turn the sound down. There's a bit of swearing on there that we probably don't need to. Oh, I don't mind, but you know. So here they are. He's. Yeah, that's right. That's the woman. Yeah. See, they grab this guy. Look what they do. See, he's there waiting for his mates to help him. His mates didn't help him, so shame on them. They should have jumped in. Because what do you think would happen if there was, say there was 30 of us blokes that are happy to get in there and have a scrap? You know, you need the people around to defend and help the others, but you had like 30 of us that are ready to go. Even if you had like 4 or 5 hard blokes against their 7, they're going to break because they know what they're doing is wrong. They're not used to dealing with, they're used to dealing with compliant people that just go along with it. Very rarely would they have a situation that they wouldn't be able to deal with easily. But if they had some angry people, because they've incited it, they started throwing punches. Like, I mean, you got that big Jimmy that was there. He's like 6'6" and 140 kilos. And he can fight. Then you've got Jared. He's, all those guys. This is what they're doing. They're going to cause violence. It's going to happen if they keep doing this. And I'm interested to see how they react because they have less powers apparently. But they never had these powers anyway. They never had powers to do that to people for no reason. Yep.
Okay, so my question is twofold. What's the point of taking down the 7 cops, putting them in a situation where you're attempting, I guess, to make a system for the rest? And second point is, would those officers still act as they are doing? Had they been pre-noticed and put on notice that they were personally liable? Now, this is a simple process of issuing piece of paper which says, here are my trading terms and conditions, we are now on notice. Right? It's a legal step that you can take. And I've been trying to get one of these protesters to come out and get together. Because if I want, let's say, 200 people to go to a protest before it gets to this stage and walk around with a clipboard,
good idea.
We detail and say, could I get officer? Okay, thanks, Matt, you didn't give it to me. You're now criminally charged. And he's a notice. Now, nothing will happen the first time, but when those notices get back to the cops and the police association solicitor says, oh shit, they're now onto this, I suspect it'll change a bit.
Well, let's hope that there's no reason why we can't do that. What I'm suggesting is if you see as a community someone being assaulted, go and help them with whatever capacity. We have different capacities, okay? If you're a pregnant woman can't do what I could do in there. Not many people could do what Big Jimmy Hittar could do because of how big he is, but they're using this kind of force against people for nothing. So they're not following the procedures. They're not following their act. They're not following the definition of their office even, because we've looked at that earlier. So I'm suggesting that I just want people to know that you are just completely justified in using force in this situation. Not stomping on their head. Not but you're definitely justified in using force if they do that. And you're justified in going in if you've got the power to do it. And that's the problem. Do we have the power? We need the people to come together. But let's just have a watch of this because it only goes for a couple of minutes. But so the people get angry, right? And so there's kids here. There's kids. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you'll see Big Jimmy. He's with Big Jimmy's. There's Big Jimmy. He's about a foot taller than everyone else. He's a big unit.
That's him there.
That's Big Jimmy there. Because Jared's quite tall as well. And Jimmy towers over Jared. Yeah, yeah. So they're there, and that's Monica from Reignite Democracy there. And I think they just come over and they end up spraying. Oh, here we go. They try to grab someone, and the people stand their ground and push back. And there's only a few of them, but they end up. But see, there was 7 of this. That was a group of 7 police, and that was four men, and they pushed them back, right? And that's what the point I want to make, because I understand fighting, because that's all I do as a job, and I know confidence. If you're not confident, especially like we say this in fighters, you get fighters that you can put them through all the abuse and you can beat them up, and they still won't give up. Then you got fighters that are amazing athletes. They move faster, they're better, but then you start giving them some pressure and they break. Their confidence breaks. They can't dig deep. And I don't believe the police have been trained to dig deep. Whereas I think the people could dig a lot deeper. We just need to get those kinds of younger guys that have a desire to not to go out and fight with the police, to go and defend the innocent. And I think, and because it's completely justifiable, and if there's enough footage on them, there's always the risk you might do something, they bear false witness, and there's no footage. But as long as there's lots of people there filming, I can't see how you ultimately would end up being prosecuted for it, because it's a reasonable defence to a justifiable conduct, because you have the evidence to verify your belief in a reasonable person. Now let's have a look at what they do next. Spray for everyone. Remember, there was a little kid there, yeah? You saw the little kid, so they don't care about little kids. Look, they just come over and they spray everybody. Just spray everybody. Little kids there, it doesn't matter. That's all right. Just. There's Big Jimmy. Yeah. So I've got these really cool glasses that go right around like this, and they can't shatter. And I'm looking at what sort of paint you could put on your skin to protect you. I reckon if you did that, you'd be pretty all right. See what they did? They just go and spray everybody. They're just bullies. Now, let's look at the yeah. I couldn't imagine them shooting bullets into a crowd of innocent people, because I can't imagine they would ever do that.
Have you got the footage when they grabbed the shrine and they came out swinging like they were punching people? Yeah.
Because they put. Okay, well let's have a look. So we were looking at 456 AA. So let's quickly go through 456 AA. Okay, a police officer or a PSO on duty as a designated place, and a designated place is literally the whole of Metro Melbourne. May request a person to state his or her name and address if the police officer or the PSO believes on reasonable grounds that the person has. So remember, belief and reasonable grounds. That's all you need to know. Is there reasonable grounds? If there's not, and they're using force, detaining me, I can use force. So if they believe in reasonable grounds, the person has committed or is about to commit an offence, whether indictable or summary, or may be able to assist in the investigation of an indictable offence which has been committed or is suspected to have been committed. Now, a police officer or PSO who makes a request under subsection 1, which we just read, must inform the person of the grounds, right, for his or her belief in sufficient detail to allow the person to understand the nature of the offence or suspected offence, which goes in hand with Human Rights Charter, person who is arrested or detained must be informed at the time of the arrest and detention, and for the reasonable grounds for the arrest and detention. They're not doing any of this anymore at these protests. Yes. Well, they have to be able to prove that you're committing an offence. They don't know if you have an exemption or not. Yeah, they don't know, and so they're going to detain you so they can question you. So they're going to assume that you're guilty, and they're going to so they're going to arrest you until you tell them, oh, now we've verified that you are outside of your however long. But it's not. It doesn't matter if you're found to be guilty. The arrest is still false because it was done without any. They have to have the reasons for the belief based in fact. Yeah, they haven't seen. You may be committing an offence, and we're going to arrest you, or you have to tell us your private information, whether you like or not, and we're going to deprive you of your common law rights to not speak. And we're going to throw out DPP versus Hamilton, which we learned in the academy, which is a Supreme Court case from 2011. We're going to get that. We're going to get rid of that because we don't need that anymore. And then if you don't tell us what we want, we're going to arrest you, and until you tell us or we find out. And that's not right. It's black and white. It's so simple to see how they're not reconcilable anymore. The police actions and the law. Yes.
And quickly, you've got to remember he's reading out of the Crimes Act 1958. The reference to an offence is criminal. Okay? And so the statutory offence is in a completely different section. Because it's in the Crimes Act, they have to have reasonable grounds for committing a criminal.
Well, no, it has in here committed an offence, whether indictable or summary. They can request your name, because if it's a summary offence, they can't arrest you, right? But what they can do is they can elevate it to an arrestable offence by asking you for your name, and when you don't give them the name, then they arrest you for failing to give them the name, right? So that's their trickery. That's how they do it. But you don't have to even speak to them, because DPP versus Hamilton, you don't have to. The Supreme Court judge said, I don't need to. We've always had that right. I don't have to assist you in your investigation. It's about, so DPP versus Hamilton's a high court case where a Supreme Court case where there was a man that basically saw at the police and he ran, and he was a passenger in a vehicle. I'm pretty sure that's the one. He was a passenger in the vehicle, and then they wanted his name because he wasn't the driver. He didn't have to tell them, give them any details.
They were targeting Sudanese kids in Cleveland.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, it's BBV versus Carver. That's another one. Yeah. Yeah, that's another one. That's another one. Yeah. Yeah, okay, the African, yeah. So basically, yeah. So that's the thing. What they're going to do is they're going to go out of their way, and they're going to escalate unless they're honourable, right? And I haven't found many honourable police that don't break the rules. Oh, you can give them a name if you want to give them a name, but some people like me don't want to give them a name because it's my property and it belongs to me. It's my intellectual property. The surname's not. But they've said it's my name. That's not my name. And when you give them your name, you're giving them a contract, right? You're giving them something, right? No, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. You'd be agreeing with your adversary while you're in the way, and you'd be. It's like when they ask you for your address, and they say, "Where do you live?" And it's like, "Well, I live in my body." You're, "Oh, yeah." But where do you reside? I reside in my body. But you want an address. You want to add a dress to me, and I don't wear dresses, and you can go on that tangent as well. Then you say, "All right, well, if you want to send mail somewhere, you can send it to this address." But I reside in my body. I mean, there's ways around it. You can argue the point with them. But I mean, the point is, like, you can just not talk to them. and say, I'm not going to give you anything because I don't, you know, what I say to the police now is, I don't trust you. I think you're up to no good. Your actions have really put me off the police, and I'm not going to help you with your investigation because I think you're fishing. And that's it. And that's all I say. Yeah, because they are. They're
But on the other hand, yes, they're fishy, but the last time
yeah. Well, hang on. Let's go back. I'll just read this last bit, and then I can get off that. All right. So this is another important bit. Okay. Here we go. So they've got to provide the grounds for the belief in sufficient detail. Right. So they have to do that. A person who is in response to a request made by a police officer or PSO in accordance with this section refuses to comply with the request or states a name that is false or material, or states the address other than the correct address, is guilty of a level 11 fine, 5 penalty units maximum. Now, look at this though. A person who is requested by a police officer or PSO under subsection 1, so, you know, okay, police, they may request your name and your address, right? So someone that's received that request from the police or the PSO under this subsection to state his or her name and address may request the officer to state orally or in writing his or her name, rank, place of duty. Now look at this. 5, a police officer or PSO who is in response to a request under subsection 4, we just read. So they've asked you for your name and details, you give them, but you ask for theirs as well. And if they refuse, look what it says. Refuses or fails to comply with the request or states a name or rank that is false. But this is the one, they just won't tell you a lot of the time, okay? Or refuses to comply with the request in writing, if requested to do so, is guilty of, it's the same penalty. It's an arrestable penalty because they're going to arrest you for the same thing. You can arrest them. Obviously, you know, if there's 6 police officers and just you're going to pull out some pretty cool kung fu moves to deal with that. But this is the reality of what they're doing. And I just want people to learn that the police are the criminals now. They're the criminals because of, what's that? All right. Oh, no. If they've asked you, you can ask for theirs. Yeah, that's okay. I want to know with whom I am dealing because you're entering into a contract. I just want to know who you are. Yeah, I don't trust you.
And can I just make a point on that? Guy I'm working with, he immediately gets that information and has a prepared folder which he opens, copies that name down onto it in 2 forms. That is, Senior Constable John Smith and John Smith, and then hands that piece of paper with attached to it his terms and conditions and says you've now been served. Now, when I made out my notice of liability, which I took off the impoundment, it says in it, waiver clause if you're doing anything lawful and illegal, then notice applies. But however, if you're not, and you attempt to ask me questions, you've accepted my terms and conditions. So instantly, they get that piece of paper, I'll get copies of my paper, okay, just drop them in front of them. They've been served, they asked me a question, they've accepted my terms and conditions. Each question, $2,000, whatever. They've been counted for in my car.
I've never been able to get them to pay. When I've done it with the tax department for about 50 people too. I've done it with the tolls. I've done it with Fines Victoria, but I've never been able to collect on that money.
Well, let's do a workshop where we can look at, maybe Darren will come to it, and there is a method of doing it, but Darren is one and talk to it. So you've got the setup, and you've got the skills, you've got the venue. Let's get the info out.
I like that it's a fight, Jim, because we're learning how to fight just in a different way.
Yes.
That's why it resonates with me. Yeah. Well, hang on a sec. 'Cause, I think you, Naomi was going to say something, and I cut her off. Do you want to?
I just thought, yeah, agreeing with your sneaky and fishing and not trusting and not giving them information. I was saying, last time I came across them, I'm learning to give them useful information. And it was all good. And it seemed like those couples kept trying to get you to.
They probe. They're jabbing you, jab, 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 trying to get you to give them something back. You know.
Because my friend I was with was jabbering away, but he was first could not stop talking. Like he was talking all day long
Oh,
with me.
yeah.
And when it came to the cops, let it go. And then the cops turned to me to try and get on my details.
So I'm tearing up from laughing inside about that because I know that situation. They get scared and they start going, oh, I'm not doing anything wrong. Yeah, look, I live at this address. I'm a really good guy. Please don't. He said, way too.
So the cop, because I wasn't saying much, just not even contacting me, and then his last question was, oh, and how do you get home?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, good on you. That's what you asked them a question back.
yeah, he just like shut down and then that was it. It was all over. But I said, nothing. So yeah, they are efficient.
You ask a question, it's how you hit the ball back in there, you know, hit the ball back. You just go, oh, hang on, how, you know, can you get home? Oh, you know, you can be as evasive as you want. Yeah. What's that? Oh, look, you can. Yeah.
Really quick point.
And then I'll get up, then I'll end up.
These methods do work. There's a guy in WA who just received his fourth payment from the state. He is now being paid a total of $85,000. He's been fighting this for 5 years. The last action, they pushed him off a motorised bicycle and pepper sprayed. He's got a claim in against them for a long time.
Well, I've put a lot of claims in like this, so maybe if I can learn how to just get that last bit sorted and get over the line, I can make some money. And yeah, not that we're trying to make a business out of it. If we were left alone, we would probably prosper so much more anyway. We wouldn't be interested in that. But yeah, Andrew.
Yeah. Another thing to consider is under the Corporations Act. In I think it's section 153, it says that any corporation, and Victoria Police is a corporation, Department of Justice and Community is a corporation, all of the courts are corporations. Any corporation, any documentation must have their ABN on it. Now, any fine that is issued to by Fines Victoria doesn't have an ABN. That's an unlawful document. Any court document generally won't have an ABN on it. Again, unlawful document. So if you ask for, as well as like their banks and their names and that, so when you work for a corporation, so what's your ABN? You know, you're asking for their details in writing. If they don't give their ABN, then you know they're trying to contract with you in a business format. So they need to provide their ABN because they're conducting business. Right? If they don't provide that, then anything that they're doing, or you know, the representation, I mean, I could be correct, but as far as I understand, it's unlawful.
Didn't you buy up all the corporation names anyway?
Well, that was another thing I was going to say. Is about a month ago, I bought 4 names of assets. I bought Chief Health Officer, Chief Health Officer Victoria, Deputy Chief Health Officer, and Deputy Chief Health Officer Victoria.
But don't aim your correspondence at him because you won't get.
And so another thing you can do is if, let's say, a police officer says, "Well, you're in breach of the Chief Health Officer's directive," what reply back with is, well, how can I be in directive? opposition was in reach of the chief health officer's directive when the chief health officer is a business. You can look it up on the ASIC website or
It's Competition and Consumer Act. You can't be forced to accept somebody else, a corporation's services. You can't. They can't force you to accept their services.
Australian Business Registry, the ABR, chief health officer of Victoria, or chief health officer, he would come up with my name.
So guys, okay, you don't send your mail to him, okay? He's not. Okay, guys, let's have a look at this one. Yeah, that's it. It was it. Yeah. Okay. Before we go on, let's just have a look at a couple more so we can identify sort of the crimes that have been committed and that we can see it. Some. Look at that. So just there, doing nothing. Just grab the head. Can't even do that in AFL footy. Yeah. What's that? Yeah, that's just one. Let's have a look at another one. This one's on a funny angle, but we'll do our best. See how they push this lady? She's just standing there, these ladies. They just go away and just start pushing them. Just start pushing them. Grab a hold. Does that make the men angry? Because it makes me angry that they're doing that they're treating the women like that. So these men these are men, they don't have the same values that I think men should have. The way that they treat. So let's look at that one again. Look, they just start pushing him, push him, push him, push him. Oh, was that you? All right. So my mate Simon took that video of you, but he did. I got to flip it over. All right. So I think that was the only one. I think that's all the videos I was going to look at today. So let's. All right. I might end this video here, and then we'll just have a bit of a discussion.